Welcome to Surviving Roots, the podcast where we journey through the complexities of our emotions together. I'm your host, Carrie Fund, and I'm here to guide you on a path of self-discovery, understanding, and healing. In each episode, we'll explore a range of emotions and experiences, from navigating grief and trauma to managing stress and anxiety. Through candid conversations, expert insights, and practical strategies, we'll uncover the tools you need to navigate life's emotional landscape with resilience and grace. So, let's embark on this transformative journey together. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself this time. This podcast is for you. Sarah Hayes is a running and mindfulness expert, coach, speaker, and the founder of Mindful Miles, a running and wellness community focused on teaching women how to heal, reclaim confidence, and have fun again through movement. Her unique approach to running has garnered attention from outlets such as Runner's World, Well and Good, and Women's Health. Her latest program, The Running Restart, teaches you how to become a mindful runner starting with 15 minutes a day. Welcome, Sarah Hayes.
Thank you for having me, Carrie.
I should also mention you're a mom too. In addition to all of this, you left that out, which is like, I think
never
the hardest
know.
part.
I never know which parts to include in the bio, but yes, I am a mom to a 1 and a 2-year-old boy, and the youngest just started sleeping through the night. So life is good.
Congratulations. Well, yeah, you're doing a lot. I wanted to mention that. I was like, she left one of probably the hardest part of her life, like out of her bio, and it's you're a mom of 2 little ones. I just want to go back to how we met because I was attending a conference. It was my second time. And it was actually the last day of the conference with like hours to go. I think I was standing at a high top waiting for like the last seminar or something to start. And I don't know what it is. I'm 46 years old. And anytime I go to these events, I always revert back. I don't know about you or everyone else that's listening, but I just go back to that little 12-year-old girl. Like, where will I stand? Who will I talk to? Will I meet people? Where will I sit for lunch? Like, I don't know what it is. And you came up to the table I was standing at because you needed a spot as well. And we just started talking. And ironically, I was already following you on Instagram. Everyone that's listening, she has an amazing Instagram platform. And it was something about disordered eating or like eating disorders or just, embracing food and your health and things like that, that I think you captured my attention.
That's so sweet. Yeah. So my version of the story is I also am that this was the first conference that I had ever gone to. I was still pumping at the time. And so I needed somewhere to put my pump parts and figure out my life. And same as you, I was like, I don't know anyone at this conference. I'm like, I've got it ready to go home, but I'm going to give it one last try. And I found a table. You were at it. And I just looked up. I was like, who is this woman with magnificent energy? And I need to know her. And that's what it was. It was fate.
Oh my God, it was fate. And here we are now talking. And I want to just dive in because you're doing a lot and you're helping a lot of people. And I want to share your mission. So let's start by sharing, if I could ask you to share, like, what inspired you to create this path that you're on? Can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. So I have been a runner almost my entire life. I ran competitively in high school and in college. And I also come from a very poor household with low education. I was the first in my family to graduate college, actually to graduate high school. And so when we found out that I was a good runner, it kind of thrust me into this limelight that I wasn't necessarily ready for. And with that came the pressure to grow up sooner than I was ready to. And I quickly developed a horrible relationship with movement and running and exercise in general, and a horrible, horrible relationship with food. I hate saying this, but I do say that I was very lucky in which I wasn't really aware of my body and its relationship to food until I was probably in high school.
Okay.
Most women start developing that awareness when they are as young as 6 to 8 years old.
Yeah.
So, because of that, I always put so much pressure on myself to please my family and to please others that I never knew how to be my own girl and now woman. And so that was chasing everyone else's story of success. And that was allowing myself to let what I learned to be an eating disorder cripple me completely.
Oh, wow. So what sort of triggered? I mean, yeah, you were very lucky in a sense, I should say, in a sense, to have that delay in terms of being aware of like your body and just the dysmorphism and
Mhm.
negative body image until high school. Did something happen that,
Yeah. So what had happened was I went from, being someone who didn't really understand her relationship to sport to someone who was one of the best. I lived in New Mexico. I grew up in New
okay,
Mexico and I was one of the best in the state. And so that kind of put pressure on me to
pressure?
continue to
Ugh,
be the
the
best.
beauty of pressure.
The beauty of pressure, when it's not managed, it can destroy
Yeah.
you. And so that's ultimately what led me on my own path with learning to heal my relationship with movement. So I went on to a school in New York. I ran D2. By the time I
Oh,
graduated, I had such a horrible relationship with any type of movement, any type of food, that I just decided to let myself go all in. Whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do, because I had really hit in this rock bottom in my life where I was just so sick of hating myself. I was so sick of trying to make myself something that was unattainable. I was
yeah.
never going to be faster. I was never going to be thinner. I was never going to be pretty enough. And I finally had just had enough of it. And I said, I don't know what the future holds, but I promise, like, I can't hate you anymore. Like, I don't have it in me. I'm
Oof.
exhausted. And
Yeah.
so that led my own healing journey as it relates to food and movement. And then, multiple years down the road, that is eventually what became what my company is now today, which is Mindful Miles.
First of all, congratulations on having the courage just to like say enough. You
Yes.
know, I think we all suffer from like the people pleasing and the pressure and the perfectionism. And I mean, it's at some point you just, it's enough and to stop hating yourself. Like that's really courageous and congratulations because now you've really turned all these painful things into your potential. And I want to get into mindful miles. First, can you tell listeners and me what does it mean to integrate mindfulness into your running routine?
So when you think of running, what is the first thing you think about?
Sweating.
And are you like I don't sweat?
I'm more of a walker at a high
Yeah,
speed or like a hiker on my treadmill. You
yeah.
you do inspire me so much. I will say I had a spine fusion a couple years ago. So like I have like this back injury, but I ran track all through high school and
Mhm.
I relate to a lot of the pressure and things like that that you're talking about, but I loved running. I felt
Mhm.
free, but at the same time the pressure crippled me. It was a very
Yeah,
vicious cycle.
yeah.
But if you ask me today, I just think of sweating.
I love it. Well, so typically, and I ask that because a lot of times we have negative or very intense connotations or emotions attached to running. So when you think of running, it's punishment, it's to burn calories, it's going
Yeah.
all out, it's sweating, it's high intensity. For me, mindful running is learning to listen to your body. And so
Okay.
that can be going all out, but it can also be learning to take walk breaks. It can also be learning to listen to the cues that your body is giving you and say, why do I feel this huge pit in my stomach? Okay, maybe I can start to figure out what's going on. And so mindful running is really just the invitation to befriend your body and to stop trying to drown it out, because it was consciously or subconsciously, it's what we do. We put on headphones, we put on music, we do what we can, we listen to the instructor. We are willing to listen to anybody before we learn to listen to ourselves. And so my mission with mindful running is to give you the tools to learn how to go inward and say, what do I need today as it relates to movement?
Mhm.
Because I do know that movement is so powerful as it relates to your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional well-being. But we just don't have the tools yet to understand what types of movement work best for us when we need it.
Okay, wow, you just elevated running in my mind because you just made it like an entire experience and just sort of briefly told us all how you can increase your overall well-being just by being mindful when you're running. And
Yeah.
it's so true what you just said. Why is it that we just naturally listen to everyone outside of us but ourselves? I don't know. I feel like so many of us are programmed that way. Maybe it's
It,
just our
it, it, go,
upbringing.
it goes back to our upbringing. Very,
Upbringing.
it's a societal thing where we're so taught to listen to your teachers, listen to your coaches, listen to the grown up or the parent or the adult, rather than question your teachers. You can do that
Yeah.
respectfully, you can push back respectfully, but we were always taught that you can't. You have to stay small, you have to stay quiet, especially
Yeah.
as women. And
Yeah.
so with this, for me, running is not about, we view it so black and white and so metrics focused. Sure, if you want to go run a marathon, I'll happily support you through that. I could care less. Like, it's
Yeah.
not about that, because you're going to find who you are in that, because you're going to unearth. And I think of it like a glow stick. You always come to this moment in your running practice where that glow stick cracks and we cannot get the genie back into the bottle. And that is when you
Ooh.
realize your own self-worth and your strength and your own confidence, and that you've always had it this whole time and no one had to give it to you.
Okay, I might have to get back into running and start with some baby steps because you're changing the mental game here. It sounds a lot more just emotionally like intelligence you're incorporating in here, this whole mindfulness. I think I'm gonna have to start taking some running baby steps. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is this what you talk about when you mention like runner's high? Like explain what that is, like how mindfulness plays a role in experiencing this runner's high.
Yeah, so runner's high is really just the release of endorphins in your body. It's also very similar to flow state, which I'm sure you have much experience in, being as
Yeah.
creative as you are. And what it gives us the opportunity to do is to really, like, runner's high gives you that, like I said, that self-worth, that strength, that confidence, that creativity that oftentimes we haven't tapped into in a long time. It gives us that
Mhm.
childlike joy. So when you go out and you're playing, I don't want you to think about just getting to, the 10 minutes or the 2 miles. I want you to think about, what can I see around me? What's bringing me joy? Can I think about this as if I was a kid running on the soccer fields again? And that's where we're able to kind of unlock that runner's high to give you healing, to give you creativity, to give you whatever you need. And the coolest thing about it is it's very, do you meditate at all?
Yes, I do a lot every morning.
Have you ever gone into a meditation practice where you're like, I am going to meditate, and once I finish meditating, I am going to be the most efficient person in the world?
I used to do that in the beginning
Yeah,
until I learned how that's not meditating. So yeah, you
right.
just got to let go.
Exactly. And so that's the point. You can't go on a run to be a runner. You just
Okay.
go on a run to move your body, and then you find whatever you need most along the way. So it's very similar to meditating, and like, yeah, you can try to force it and you will get some experience, sure, but that's not the point of it.
Yeah, so maybe when I think of running, I stop thinking about the sweating and I start thinking about how beautiful the world is around me while I'm outside getting some fresh
Mhm.
air and like just being grateful to be healthy and I'm even able to move my body. I think that's what
Right.
you're reminding us all right now is just the importance of movement. Like
Mhm.
you just have to move, like
Mhm.
get out there and just move your body.
Yeah. It's a
It's
celebration of movement, and it's really just getting back to, all I need to give myself is 10 minutes a day. That's my promise to myself every single day. And coming from such a
that's
disordered,
doable.
right, but in coming from a disordered movement background, I have to be very aware and very careful to say, 10 minutes can be a walk around the block. This is not our disordered brain's way of sneaking in, like, oh, I'm doing this diet because I just want to feel better. No, you're doing this diet because you're stressed out and you're lacking control and you want to be able to control something.
Yeah.
So that's where I say that very delicately, because I'm not saying you need to work out every single day. I don't even like using the word workout. I switch it in my practice. We say movement. We don't say workout, because it's more
Okay. I
inviting.
love that.
Um, but it's just an opportunity. Like, I brush my teeth every day. I brush my teeth every day because that's oral hygiene and that's self-care. I move my body every day. I don't move my body every day because I want to be thin or I want to reach a certain metric. I move my body every day because I know that that's the best possible thing for myself.
Yeah. Um, that's beautiful and inspiring. And I love the idea of replacing movement with workout because workout just sounds like hard and just not fun or anything with joy. Movement actually sounds like breathing,
Mhm.
meditating, movement.
Exactly.
It actually just it already sounds like more peaceful and inspiring to like go
It's
into it.
it's more inviting, and it's less harsh. So sometimes I'll be at my desk all day long. I'm stuck and I'm like, oh, I need to get some movement. And what does that feel like? Well, that can feel like dancing while folding laundry because I need to get things done. That can
Hmm.
be just, getting in the kitchen and, like I said, dancing, doing dishes, something like that. If I said exercise, then all of my rigid exercise rules would be like, you're dancing and folding laundry. That doesn't count. Well, it does because that's exactly what my body needs. I need to release this energy from sitting at my desk all day. And so being in some sort of flow and some sort of movement helps me to do that without putting such a harsh expectation on what it needs to look like.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I talk about a lot is your intention versus the outcome. So, a lot of times we focus on what we want the outcome to be rather than what we want the intention to be. So, let's take this example even further of I want to run 3 miles today. Okay, maybe the school calls and my kid is sick and I need to go
Yeah.
pick up my kid and I have client sessions back to back and there's no way I'm getting 3 miles in today. Well, if I'm so fixated on that outcome, I can't leave any room for magic. I cannot leave any room for play. I can't leave any room for movement. But if my intention is to do something to honor my body, to feel strong, to just get out there and move, well, I can put my kid in the stroller and we can go on a walk together and we can listen to music we like, or we can talk about why his tummy's not feeling well and what's going, all these different things. And so it's really just inviting you to pay attention to mainly the subconscious rules that we have as it relates to movement and ask where we can be curious and where we can soften the way that we view it.
I love that. Leave room for the magic. And it pretty much just sounds like you're telling us we got to like let go and just be in the flow.
And it'll change your life.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I want to dive into just like eating, because I love watching you on Instagram. I catch myself sometimes, just with like, I think I'll always have body dysmorphism, but like the disordered
Mhm.
eating really has become a thing of my past. It's been a while. But you still catch yourself like, am I eating too much? Or I love how you approach fueling your body, and you do it so well on your Instagram platform. Can you talk a little bit about the importance and of eating and having a healthy relationship with food when it comes to things like being mindfulness, even in our movement, not our workouts,
Mhm.
but our movement?
Well, I love that you've picked up on the fact that I say fueling instead of eating. Just like same those little tiny switches, exercise
Yeah,
to movement, fuel to eating. Because yes, everybody is entitled to eat, everybody should eat. It is our birthright to be nourished. But to be fueled, well, I want you to think of it a little bit differently because in order to do the things that I desire to do, in order to be on this call with you and to have creativity and to not constantly be thinking about when my next meal or my next snack is and figuring out what I need to do to be able to earn it, that is freedom in itself. And so, in order
yeah,
to do that, you need to adequately fuel your body. And it comes from one, having a lens of self compassion and saying, I understand that my relationship with food is X, Y, or Z. Maybe it's really bad and I'd love to work with it, or it's in a really great place right now. But I understand that it's like a dormant volcano or
yeah,
it's in some sort of remission. And I need to be mindful of the fact that, my body deserves fuel and we live in a world that praises thinness and that
yeah.
praises um, diets and low calories and restriction.
Yeah, I hate the word diet. I hate saying the word hate, but I really do. I'm
It really
so
is, yeah.
mindful just raising kids, especially my daughter. Yeah, it's just my disordered eating probably started when I was 8. I remember reading in my diary at 8, and it just got ugly from there. And I always think to myself when I look at her, like I just don't want her to waste one moment of having to heal from like body dysmorphism or disordered eating because it's just this thing I think that sits on your shoulder and just follows you throughout your life, and it just steals so much joy and happiness. It becomes like a mental full-time job, and it's just like,
It
uh,
does.
yeah,
It's exhausting and
it's
it's so
exhausting.
painful. And a lot of it comes back to, again, what we learned growing up. So,
Yeah,
who our role models were.
yeah,
And at that point, we did not have a developed brain to say this person is not, educated in
yeah,
dietetics. They don't
yeah,
understand. This is just what they saw in a magazine or what their mother taught to them that she's now
yeah,
passing on to you. We didn't have that understanding. All we knew was this person that I love and I cherish so much feels this
yeah,
way about her, and so now I have to feel that way about me. And one thing that's helpful when we do catch, like, again, there's so many rules, conscious and unconscious. So say I catch myself reaching for my coffee and it's black coffee and I think, oh, I wish I could have creamer, but I just can't have creamer today because I need to be good. Okay,
yeah,
snap, stop, think about that. Where did I learn that? Who taught me
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
need to be good and that means you can't have creamer. And
Yeah.
that gives you the opportunity to kind of start to walk back where it was that you learned these rules. And
Hmm.
then we find the rule and we say, okay, I'm going to now test it. I'm going to have creamer in my coffee every single day. And if it brings me joy and it doesn't make me run to the bathroom and it
Yeah.
doesn't, all of these things, then I know that this is an emotional rule that I can continue to test and let go of.
That's so important. I really think we need to become more conscious because we're just in a constant state of punishing ourselves. Like, we're all about like, we want to have joy in life. We want to, be present, but then we're constantly sabotaging that by just punishing ourselves. It's
Exactly.
it's really
Exactly.
this vicious cycle. You just have to stop. You have to step off and just it all comes down to really being more mindful.
Mhm.
I want to ask you because you are a mom of two young kids and everyone that's listening that's a mom, it's hard to be mindful when you're tired or you have lack of sleep. Like, can you share some tips? Like, how do you set yourself up each day for success?
Well, I will say my new routine is based off of the fact that I am now sleeping through the night. So I understand
Congratulations.
your kids are older too, Carrie. So I hope you get it.
Yeah.
um, for me, it's absolutely my non-negotiables, or I need time for myself every single day. So I
Good
wake
for
up.
you.
I wake up between 5 and 6 every day. My boys wake up at 7. I set the
Okay.
alarm for 6 a.m. and I let my body naturally wake up whenever it feels most rested. I read in the mornings and then I go on some sort of walk throughout the day. And that's how I continue to just give myself the space that I need. Sometimes it's a meditation, sometimes whatever it is, even if it's 30 seconds, because I have been that mom that doesn't sleep through the night and is trying so hard to prioritize
Yeah.
herself. And it's like, I love these kids so much, but how am I going to do this? And
Yeah.
it's just taking 30 seconds out loud to say, okay, my nervous system is on fire right now. Like I am
Yeah.
being electrocuted. I just need a minute. And it's as simple as taking in a very slow, deep inhalation and then very easily exhaling through your mouth.
Hmm.
So when we slowly exhale, what that does is it naturally lowers our heart rate. When our heart rate is lower, we're calmer. When we are in these heightened states, think of like a toddler.
Yeah.
When they are freaking out and throwing a tantrum because you got the blue car instead of the red car, well, now is not the time to explain to them, okay, hey, I know it's a blue car, but it's the exact same as no,
Yeah.
because they're too upset and they're too heightened. But we fail to take that same lesson and apply it to ourselves. When we are heightened, we shame ourselves. Why can't you
Yeah.
be a better mom? Why are you always snapping at them? Why are you no?
Yeah.
All you have to focus on is getting through that moment. And so for me, that's learning and getting the muscle memory to return to the breath. And then after the fact, I'll talk to my husband about it. I'll review it with myself and say, what am I proud of from that moment? And what would I like to learn from that moment moving forward?
That's so helpful. I do want to mention, because you mentioned your morning routine, I could not stress this enough how important a morning routine is, especially for moms. And it doesn't have to be this big to do. Um, I mean, you could set yourself up and really change your entire day by even having the smallest morning
Yeah.
routine. And I have changed my life. I've been dedicated to my morning routine for the past probably almost 2 years. And it's a matter of like waking up an hour before the kids. Even if I'm a little tired, I sit on my mat. I do a 5 to 10 minute meditation. Sometimes I
Mhm.
just close my eyes and just
Right.
breathe and just enjoy the silence
Yeah.
and have a hot cup of coffee, give my dogs a kiss, and like whether it's writing something or just reading one chapter in a book, just
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
little something. Because then when the chaos comes down and it's breakfast and lunches and all
You're
of the
ready for it.
fighting, it's just like I am grounded with my feet on the ground and just taking that little bit of time. I mean, even if you do it 20 minutes before your routine, like just give yourself that time to really set your own self up for success like you do your children.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I almost hate agreeing with it because we hear morning routines and we're like, oh, your morning routine, tell me
I,
all about it.
Listen, I'm
But
not
it's
telling you to
true.
like make a green juice with like 15 ingredients that like come from all different parts of the world. I'm just like, that sounds
It's
amazing. I wish I could get
hmm
to that point, but
right,
literally just some silence, a hot cup of
right,
coffee without having to microwave it, and just, I don't know, enjoying the sunrise. Like that can
right,
set yourself up. Make a
right.
list that you're a gratitude list. Like it doesn't even have to
Exactly.
be on a journal. It can be like in
Hmm.
a back of a piece of your kid's artwork you're about to throw away. Like whatever.
Hmm.
Just take
Hmm.
those moments.
I think it's so necessary for anyone. Like with children, it's heightened, but with anyone, because
With anyone.
we all have roles. You
Yeah.
are a partner,
Yeah.
a sibling, a daughter, you work for someone. And so it's so easy to, when we wake up, look at our phone and immediately look at the notifications,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that just throws us into fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, if we can, I can't meditate because if I meditate in the morning, I'm falling back asleep.
Yeah.
But if you can find something like, even if it's 30 seconds and the kids are crying, well, they've been crying. They can cry for 30 more seconds for
Yeah.
me to just stop for a second and stretch. Like, I'm just going
Yeah.
to do a down dog here for 30 seconds
Yeah.
and then I will go do it. Because I've probably been waking up early consistently for like 2 months now, so I'm still new.
Yeah.
But I have found that I am significantly less reactive. My
Yeah.
mornings are more proactive. I have more control of the day in a healthy way. So
Yeah.
rather than waking up and going straight to the first room where someone's crying and then feeding them and figuring it out, that just launches you into the day.
Yeah.
And how great of a day could you have if you're constantly in that fight or flight mode? So
Yeah.
I know you said like waking up early, wake up 5 minutes early and see
Yeah.
how it feels for you, and then slowly push the alarm clock back a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think it's also really important for people to consider this like this is a non-negotiable. It's like brushing your teeth. Like I don't have time to do that. Well, you have time to brush your teeth. Like it takes a couple of minutes. Like make it a non-negotiable. Like create this space for yourself no matter if it's 5 minutes or 50 minutes and see how like your life changes. Like the smallest changes really do create the biggest shifts. And this doesn't really require much from you. You don't even need to depend on anyone to help you. You just have to make yourself the priority and
Mhm.
create the space to do it. It's such a
Yeah,
game
it's
changer.
true. And if it needs to be a non-negotiable, and to be a little bit more straightforward, and possibly share a little bit of tough love, is pay attention to where you're self-numbing. What are you doing before
Yeah.
bed? Are you drinking? Are you eating? Are you binging TV? What
Yeah.
are you doing? And I'm not saying take it away, but can you do less of it? Instead of 3 hours of Netflix, how
Yeah.
about two? Because that's still a lot of time on
Yeah.
Netflix. And hey, we all need that.
Yeah.
But how much of it do we really need? Like sometimes we just fall into these ruts of comfort that aren't really comforting at all.
Right. And they sabotage us. Like it's so funny that you
Mhm.
mentioned Netflix because I mean, probably I started changing all of my ways about 2 years ago, but I used to be that person. I would stay up till 11 o'clock midnight with my husband. We would watch like 3 hours of Netflix. And now, do you know what I do? And I have no shame in this. I go to bed at night when my kids go to bed. And that's why I wake up at 5 in the morning, sometimes 4:30, because I'll go to bed at 8 o'clock. Like I used to think that I could sleep when I was dead. I never valued sleep and until my 40s. And if I could tell anyone listening right now in your 20s, your 30s, or even older, like sleep is the keys to it all. Like your nervous system. I mean, sleep is everything. So changing that just even 2 years ago really has shifted everything. So I'm like, well, how can I get up even earlier? I go to bed earlier. Like I
Mhm.
watch Netflix on the weekends. Like, if whenever, like I
Right.
make my weekly routine as I guess sort of as healthy as possible. Like I expect for myself now, like what I expect for my kids. Like I want them to eat well. I want them to sleep well. I want them to have calm mornings. So I'm treating myself like I treat my children. I'm giving myself the same love. And it took a lot to learn that. But it's I don't know. I feel like that's where the magic is. It's like you don't need to go out and do all of these things and buy all these things and set up all of these things. It's literally just a couple little tweaks and at home that can really set you up for success and just
It's those small whispers. So there was
yeah.
something within you that was saying, Netflix with my husband is nice, but is this a comfort zone or do I actually feel connected to him?
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like learning to wake up earlier just sounds like you developed a higher level of self-respect, and you
Yeah.
realize like this is what I need and I'm meeting my needs by respecting myself and giving myself that time to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, self-respect. I love it. Thank you for pointing that out. Um, So your Instagram, I am Sarah Hayes, is very popular. It's so entertaining. You show up vulnerable. You are hilarious. I enjoy it so much. How do you use social media? Like, how do you come up with your content? What's your creative process like?
Well, not to sound, actually, yeah, I'll just say it on my runs.
Yeah.
I come up with majority of my content on my runs. A lot of times, What I share is conversations that I have with clients
Mhm.
or, past things that I have gone through. But majority of the stuff that I share is I'm on my run. I commit to, everyone thinks I'm crazy for this, but I swear by it. I don't listen to music on my runs. Probably like 25% of my movement or less has music attached to it because we're in
Oh,
such a stimulating world where we
yeah.
constantly seek it out. I cannot, my addiction to my phone is off the hook. Like when I'm working, it needs to be in another room because I'll just
Yeah.
mindly pick it up. I open up Instagram and I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I've already
I
posted for the
know.
day. I don't need to be here. So when I'm on my run, it's my sacred time. And again, like I said earlier with the meditation reference, I don't go on runs to be like, oh, I'm going to think up my next business idea. I just go on my runs to give myself space and thinking again back to the analogy of when we're children, how often were you bored as a child? All the
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
that's when you learned the floor is lava and to
Yeah.
make forts and to do all of these things. But as adults, we don't give ourselves time to be bored.
Yeah.
So I try to give myself intentional space to be bored and whatever bubbles up, bubbles up. And I love that my content resonates with you because sometimes, I mean, you're speaking into a void and you're like, I hope somebody likes this.
I know, I know. No, it definitely does. I absolutely love everything that you do. I find it truly inspiring, and I definitely feel seen in so many of your posts. What are your future goals for Mindful Miles?
Oh my goodness. My
What's
future
cooking in that
goals.
brain of yours?
So much. So we do, it started with individual coaching just as myself. Since then, I have brought on other coaches and a team dietitian. So we do
Oh, wow.
one-on-one services for both nutrition and movement coaching. We also have an incredible membership, but from there, like it's just expanding to make movement a household name, like Mindful Miles, a household name, something that I just, whenever I feel like I could use some inspiration, well, Mindful Miles has a program for that. Mindful
Yeah.
Miles has an audio guided run from that. I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. Well, Mindful Miles has a community for that. For me, my mission is to specifically make women feel less alone in their bodies. I am so sick of hearing people talk about how they are just trying to change, how they are just trying to be different. When what I see is someone who's incredible as she is, but she just can't get there. And so
Yeah.
I want to be able to give you the tools with wherever you're at, with movement, with finances, with time, to be able to heal that relationship for yourself. Because myself, hundreds of clients that I've worked with, like my life is better because of movement. My life is better because I have learned self acceptance and because I have learned to love who I am and stop trying to change and focus on all of the things that I'm not. And I will find any way that I can to bottle that up and give it out.
I love that, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You really are a gem and a true light, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing. How can people contact you and find you?
Well, and I'll also say is my ultimate goal is to convince people that they can be runners, and I'm happy that I now have planted the seed for you
I will tell
because
you, I have a Peloton treadmill and I have that tray and I usually walk and work. But you know what? I am not being mindful in that space. And I live in Miami, and even though it's hot, I'm going to go out today and I am going to walk and I'm going to just see where it takes me. And I am going to start being more mindful. And just like I give myself the space in the morning, I'm going to give myself space during my movement. And I'm not saying workouts anymore. I'm saying movement. I'm going to give my
love it.
space in the movement, and maybe some creativity will come to me like it does to you when you're
It
on
will.
your runs.
It will.
Honestly,
Intention versus outcome. Don't focus on the outcome. The intention is for you to just go out there and hey, you're going to go on a walk today. But if something strikes you and you feel good, don't be afraid. Don't hold back. Go for a little bit of a jogging stint. See how it feels. I want you to do hard things. I want you to be uncomfortable because
yeah,
it's healthy and it's safe. And we need to start reminding and reprogramming our brains that it's fun to do hard things.
yes.
So, all that being said, you can find me on Instagram, like you mentioned. My handle is just I am Sarah Hates. You can also find me online at mindfulmiles.com.
I love that. And everyone listening, that's where the magic happens. Also, Sarah graciously is offering guests of the Surviving Roots podcast 15% off with code ROOTS. So check out her coaching and her services. She is truly a gem. And just in this small chat, you've created some shifts for me. So I'm going to get back to you and report on my movement and my running.
Oh,
goals.
well, I'm not going anywhere. I will be checking in on you if you don't respond.
Thank you so much for being here today, Sarah. We truly appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thanks so much, Carrie.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Surviving Roots. Let's continue this conversation as a community. For more updates about the show, remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. Also, there will be some special bonus footage from the show on Instagram at carrie.fund. I'll see you there.